what about doing a live webinar like this? Can we use live webinars like this to generate content for courses? So we're going to look at that in two ways. And one, we're going to have a raw webinar. It's live. Is it useful? And we will just, the recording of this will be automatically posted. But maybe we can take this and chop bits out of it and take the most relevant parts and see if they could make good learning resources as well. So we really want to look at this conversational webinar to see if it could make a useful learning resource.
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting, and it's something that has come up, that webinars, I think they're very useful for, you know, they're convenient, they're flexible, they're good for connecting people who can't be in a place. But the actual format, some people have said that they're usually too long. Like very often they take an hour, and maybe only 20% of it is what people are looking for. So yeah, I think that might be interesting. And other people have asked, you know, for kind of behind the scenes tips on how to do these. And I think what we will be doing is cutting it down with Camtasia. That's the software we're using to do it with, for maybe a 10-minute slot that could be more entertaining or something. What do you think?
Well, I'm not a big fan of putting a huge amount of work into it, but I'm interested to see what will happen. So we'll probably have to download this as an MP4 from YouTube, and then bring it into Camtasia, look at the bits that we think are more interesting or less interesting, chop bits out and chop it into smaller and upload it again. Now, there's a fair amount of work in that. So I would say it's an open question. Would that be any more useful? And remember, you're going to take an editing function, whereas your opinion about what's most useful may not be the same as anyone else's. One of the things I love about the videos is, even in YouTube, is you can watch them at double speed, and you can go flying through them, and then pause at the things that you think are most important. Maybe we should be considering some sort of a labeling system, so that we, what you can do in YouTube is you can set a link to a specific point in a video, and we could say, the following topics were covered, and here's a link to this topic, a link to this topic, and a link to this topic. That might work.
So you mean to use that for the full version of the webinar? And then we just chop bits up and make maybe a 7-minute version for people who just want to see something a little bit more polished?
Well, as I say, you could do that, but I think that's a heavy workload. Whereas if you were to identify the starting point in the video of particularly interesting ideas or useful ideas, just have links to those starting points. That'd be a much quicker way.